Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. A little while back we took a look at the Invicta Megalosaurus. It was one that was requested, but a lot of people actually seemed interested in the Invicta line, so I figured since I'm starting to review quite a bit of older figures, there's not really too much going on right now as far as new releases, so we're going to be looking at a lot of older figures with whatever new releases come out, and I decided why not start taking a look at some of the Invicta figures as well, because they really are fantastic, and as far as reviews go, a lot of them don't really seem to have any. So today we are going to take a look at the Baryonyx, which in my opinion is an absolutely fantastic looking Baryonyx figure, so ahead of its time, it's crazy honestly. The Invicta line was absolutely beautiful as far as their sculpts go, but a lot of the time you wouldn't even really notice how good the sculpts are, because as you can see looking at this figure specifically, this is one of the versions of the Invicta line that didn't really have any paint on them other than one solid base color, and that's pretty much how all of them were. And then they did release some repainted versions eventually, but even the repainted versions I feel like just did not do the sculpts justice, because the sculpts have so much detail within them that unless you're really going to get into a nice detailed paint job, you'd never really notice. So hopefully taking a nice close look at this Baryonyx right now will help you to see just that. So let's go ahead and get a closer look, and you'll definitely be able to tell how beautifully sculpted this Baryonyx is. So starting up here at the head sculpt, look at the incredible detail in the head sculpt of this Baryonyx. There's some fuzz or something on his head there, but that is really nicely done detailing, and you can even see the mouth is opened a little bit there. You can almost get a sense of the teeth in there, and you can see that the hooked jaw is included as well on this Baryonyx. You can also take note to the ear sculpted out back there. You get that little Baryonyx style crest up on the top of the head, the nostril, and the eye socket there, and even the skin texture on the face is really well done, and you can see that's the same ordeal on both sides. Fantastic sculpt and detail. I actually do have an extra one of these that has kind of the tail like chipped off a little bit, so I think I'm actually going to repaint the other version of this just to really get a good idea of how wonderful the sculpt is, because I feel like this one with some paint on it could be incredible. Moving down the neck, again with this one solid base color, and then also having kind of a bit of a glossy appearance to it. A lot of the detail is kind of shined away with the light, but hopefully as I'm turning it here, you can really get a sense of how incredibly nice the skin texture is. There's not really too much going on in the neck as far as movement shown, because you're not going to see a lot of creasing in the skin over here when it comes to the dinosaur having its head turned to the right. You probably could and should see a little more than what you do see, but even still, the neck of this Baryonyx is fairly long, so you can see that there is a lot of room to play with when it comes to turning the head, so I don't take any points away from the figure for not really displaying a whole lot of skin wrinkling or anything going on, but even still looking at it, you can see a little bit, just not very much, not as much as you probably should see. Moving back here into the actual body, you can get a sense of not only the bone structure, but the shoulder blade specifically running up here into the body of the dinosaur, and then coming down here into the front arm. You can see it looks really nice. You've got that very large Baryonyx claw like you would expect on your dinosaur, really nicely done as far as the smaller nails go there, and the hand sculpt specifically. He is holding on to a fish here, which even the fish has some pretty nice sculpt and detail to it, that's for sure. But moving back up here into the body, you can kind of see some of the skin kind of pulling off of the body there, with this arm stretching forward holding onto the fish. You can also really get a nice sense of the fact that this is a well-fed Baryonyx. He has some pretty significant girth in the stomach region, and you can see the skin stretching off of the body as this leg is pulling the skin back there. The overall skin texture in the stomach looks great, really nice, very large scaling with a nice dark wash. I can't imagine how beautiful those scales would shine through. Coming back here into the hip area, you can get a sense of the hip bone, but it's not too elaborated. Really nice muscle tone as we move down the leg though. You can also see some skin kind of bunching up and reacting to the movement on both the front and back areas of the thigh. Coming down into the foot, there is the kneecap present there in the front. Again, the nicely defined calf muscles. It's not large and bulging or anything, but I still think it looks quite nice. You've got the ankle there, and then as you move down into the foot sculpt, you can see that he's kind of got his foot up in the air quite a bit. His foot isn't laying flat or anything. and the nails look really nice once again. Beautifully sculpted. It would look really nice again with some paint on it. And then as we get to the tail, you can see that it gets more like almost crocodilian type scaling as we move out the length of the tail. Really nice detailing out to the tip of the tail. And then looking at the opposing side, you can again see the shoulder blade protruding from the skin there and some musculature there in the arm. As we move down here, you can see that it is holding itself up there with its hand. The hand is down on the ground nice and flat, beautifully sculpted as far as the hand, fingers, and the nails once again. You can see nice skin wrinkling going on right there, especially as this leg is pushing into the body, kind of bunching that skin up. The skin texture in the stomach region looks great once again. As you get up to the spinal column, you can see almost like a scoot-like appearance of the scales as it runs down the spinal column of the dinosaur. Beautiful detailing here in the thigh area as far as the scales go. The musculature is really nicely sculpted out and defined once again, almost like a scoot-like appearance again as far as the skin detail as it runs down the front of the leg. There is the foot sculpt over here, also looks really quite nice. And then we move up into the tail. You can kind of see the skin pulling off of the body there a little bit, but it's not too noticeable. But the detailing once again as far as the skin texture of the tail is really nice as we move out to that tip of the tail. Even the underside sports some really nice sculpt and detail. So these figures, like I said, were so ahead of their time, and I hope now with this close look you'll be able to see just how true that statement is. An incredibly cool looking Baryonyx figure. As far as the size goes from the tail to the head, you are looking at about 8 3/4 inches or around 22.5 centimeters, and the highest point is definitely the tip of the tail at about 4 inches or 10 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon being a little bit disrespectful with our Baryonyx and taking it for a ride, but hopefully next to these figures you'll have a good idea of the size of this Baryonyx, and you'll be able to tell that it really does have some decent size. It's not small, but it's not large. I would say it's probably in the medium size range, but overall it definitely has a nice size to it and a wonderful appearance as well. So this beautiful Invicta Baryonyx is a fantastic looking figure. Again, for its time, I don't know exactly what year this figure was made specifically, but I know it's been a little while since it's been released, so it is a really nicely done sculpt considering how long ago it was in fact made. I know the Invicta line has been discontinued for quite a while, so this Baryonyx has quite a few years under its belt, that's for sure, but I really think that the Invicta line was just light years ahead of where a lot of figures were back then. Incredible sculpts, really capturing the essence of dinosaurs back when they were sculpted, really beautifully replicating the wonderful skin texture and everything on this dinosaur. I think it looks great as far as the very minute detailings go, especially when it comes to that head sculpt. That head sculpt is impressively well sculpted, and again, the skin texture on this, the scaling is so beautiful. I really can't imagine how wonderful it would look with a nice dark wash to bring that detailing out. The dinosaur overall is just this primary green coloration, which is potentially a green that maybe we could have seen on a Baryonyx, but I don't think they really aimed for coloration on their figures that was a color that you could see on a dinosaur, because some of the other figures are a little bit ridiculous as far as the colors that they've chosen to give them. So I can't really say for sure that this is the color that they were aiming to make it appear as though a Baryonyx could have been. It's just the color they chose for the figure. Again, being just one solid tone of color for a lot of these Invicta figures really takes away from the figure in a way, but at the same time, if you are a fan of the Invicta line and have been for many years, it's kind of part of the charm of the Invicta figures is just this one solid color that they always were. And this Baryonyx specifically, I think, is just fantastic. Overall, the appearance is really cool. You don't see a Baryonyx on all fours very often like this, catching fish, so it really is very nice to see that sort of realism displayed in the figure, with it catching fish and being down on all fours, kind of trying to scoop fish out of a stream or something, or a pond. So they did do a great job, honestly, not only on the sculpt, but also portraying what is going on with the sculpt, kind of telling a story and giving you that very realistic appearance to what would be occurring with a Baryonyx. Overall, absolutely awesome figure, and a very high recommendation from me. If you are a fan of Baryonyx, definitely pick this guy up at some point. You will not regret that. And if you're a fan of the Invicta line, again, without question, this is a great addition to that line. So I will do my best to find a link in the description to purchase this Baryonyx, most likely on eBay, because again, being discontinued, you have very few options as far as picking it up. So check the description, head on over to wherever I can find a link you to pick one up, and make sure you buy this beautiful Baryonyx if you are in fact interested. But otherwise, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.